joining us now, of course, we have Dave King, managing editor there, Bright Side of the Sun. You can visit brightsideofthesun.com for all of Dave's and the rest of the site's great articles, of course, on the Phoenix Suns. And Dave, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, and we have today's the day of the Daves, because during our Real Hockey Talk segment for 2 hours, we had two guys named Dave Isaac, so they both had the same name. Then we had Dave Tomlinson, a former player, and now Dave King, and of course, and Greg Isaac here, and then Jimmy Marshall, Ed Smith, and of course you spoke with Kevin. And well, Dave, I mean, the Suns had
the day of the Dave.
Dave and Dave. The Suns had a tough year, obviously, last year. You know, it's not news, but your thoughts, you know, coming into this draft, you know, having a high pick like that, and then, of course, the trade activity that went on. In your opinion, I mean, how do the Suns come out of it? And is this something where over these last few days the Suns' future looks a lot brighter than it did from last week?
Yeah, it definitely does. The Suns have gone through about a 6-year stretch here where they have not really acquired any better talent than has gone out the door at any one point. They just haven't. They've had a couple of high draft picks. They had Alex Len a couple of years ago. And then they've been in the late lottery most every other year. And as guys leave and age out and get injured and things like that, the Suns have not brought in any high-end talent. Now, we don't know if Dragan Bender or if Marquise Chris are going to end up being high-end talent. We don't know if Devin Booker is going to follow up his historic rookie year as far as Suns history is concerned. And even as far as NBA history is concerned, Devin Booker did some things as a rookie. No one's done it at his age before. We don't know if he'll follow that up with a great career either, but the building blocks are there, and I think we're all excited to watch them over the next year or two to see if they can be those kind of stars.
There was one point where Suns have to keep drafting Kentucky guards, so that's always it. But you know, the real question.
Well, McDonough actually made a joke because he picked up Tyler Ulis in the second round. He said it's been too long since I drafted a Kentucky guard.
Yeah, you had to let him go to the second round. So obviously loaded with the guards. But you know, with the draft that they had, you know, what's that mean for like a current player? How about Archie Goodwin? What's that going to do for Archie Goodwin now? I mean, the Suns got they're loaded at guard, especially if another Kentucky guard makes the team.
Yeah, Archie's had it tough the whole time, but some of that. And Archie's always been a nice kid and a hard worker, and he really tries hard. But some of this is you have to have proven yourself by now. This is his third year in the league. Yes, he's only 21 years old. He'll be 22 next season, but you've got to prove that you are a playable player, and you can beat out guys on the roster. So Archie's had guys rotating in every year that have outplayed him and been better talent. So for his sake, I hope he does find a way to earn minutes on the roster. He certainly could behind Devin Booker this coming year. And we'll just have to see how the summer shakes out. I don't know exactly if the Suns are going to go really young across the roster or if they're going to still go with that blend of veterans and youth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And kind of speaking of that with potential veterans, what are your thoughts as free agency approaches with the Suns? I mean, do they be a big player out there and, go at least inquire on some of the bigger names or, maybe some of the lesser-known names that could help they bring in? Or, what direction do you think they're going to attempt to go?
I think they're going to. I just talked to McDonough, Suns GM Ryan McDonough, yesterday and kind of asked him that question. And the answer he gave was pretty much that they're going to treat this summer a lot like they treated the summer of 2013, which was don't necessarily go after the biggest free agents. For one, they don't really want to sign with a 23-win team. And number two, if you want to really go with youth, you can't be putting expectations on a team by signing a big dollar older veteran that thinks he's going to make the playoffs. They found that out with Tyson Chandler last year, that older veterans just don't want to be on a rebuilding team. They'll probably have to find a new home for Tyson this summer unless they go totally crazy in free agency, which they don't even have the money to do. Everyone's got money this summer. Suns have money, but the Suns don't need to be spending it on the older guys.
Yeah, it would be interesting. But, yeah, that's a great way that you put it because, yeah, you don't want to do that, get tied down in there. And like you said, I mean, and we've seen other, big market teams that have struggled go after big-name free agents. And she said, if you're a team that had struggled, they'd rather go to contenders per se. But hopefully, yeah, with all these young guys coming in, the Suns are, on the way up. And looking around the league a little bit, obviously with Kevin Durant out there as a free agent, his Oklahoma City Thunder, at the draft traded Serge Ibaka to Orlando. And your thoughts on that move from an Oklahoma City standpoint, the assets they got in return, how it's going to help them, and, if Kevin Durant comes back, potentially are they a better team now, as good as Ibaka was?
It's interesting. Ibaka actually kind of played less and less important role over the last year and a half. And some of that was because Steven Adams really stepped into that big man rim protector type that Ibaka used to be. And so that kind of left Ibaka to be a part-time rim protector, part-time stand in the corner to shoot three-pointers guy. And that's not really his game. He averaged almost 4 blocks a game 2 or 3 years ago, and this past year about 1.5 or somewhere under 2. And he just wasn't a difference maker. And so the Thunder understandably decided to sell high, and they got some good assets for him. Domantas Sabonis, I think, will be a pretty good player in the league. He won't be the most athletic guy in the world, but he can certainly score and help them, just like Enes Kanter has and Deion Waiters off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it'll be interesting to see with Oklahoma City, because obviously.
But as far as your question, I'm not really sure if they'll be better, but they certainly set themselves up more toward the future, and that's what they've been doing. I mean, they drafted Serge Ibaka. They drafted Steven Adams, and they acquired Enes Kanter, and then Deion Waiters. Actually, picking up Victor Oladipo was a great pickup for them, but that just means he's going to replace Deion Waiters. So I'm not really sure if that's a ton of an upgrade, but they certainly have set themselves up for the future.
Oh, yeah. And, one thing, though, looking at Oklahoma City, obviously a lot relies, with Kevin Durant now and then Russell Westbrook be a free agent after next season. In your thoughts, one, do you think Kevin Durant comes back? And if he does, do you feel it's going to be a deal where he'll have an opt-out after next year when the cap will go up significantly? Or do you think it's a situation where he leaves now and goes somewhere else? If you were put on the spot like you are right now, where do you feel?
If I, not being in the room, of course, but if I was Kevin Durant, what I would do, my first option would be to do what LeBron James did last summer, which is you got to sign as a minimum a 2-year deal as an unrestricted free agent. I'm pretty sure he's got to sign as a minimum a 2-year deal, but it can be an opt-out after the first year, a player option after the first year, because the max contract next year is going to be even 10% higher than the max contract this year. So that's like another $3 or $4 million for him. That's what LeBron did last year. He signed a 2-year with a 1-year opt-out. That's probably what Kevin would do. But Kevin Durant also 5 years ago, if you guys remember, he just didn't even test the free agent market and just automatically signed his 5-year extension off his rookie deal without even thinking about it. So it's possible he'll just commit to the Thunder for as long as he possibly can, just because he doesn't like the free agency whole setup and being courted. I guess he's having teams meet him in New York, I think. So you might do that too. His chances of leaving the Thunder, I think, are pretty slim. He's done pretty well there. The Thunder looked pretty unbeatable until suddenly they lost in that conference finals. They looked like they were going to be a finals team, and so I think he's going to be pretty happy where he is.
Dave, what do you think about what's going on over there in New York right now with the
Knicks?
Yeah, bringing over Derrick Rose and some of the moves they've made.
Yeah, I don't think Derrick Rose is much of a player anymore. I mean, he could certainly surprise everyone and play more than 40% of his games this year, but that's been his MO since he was just that awesome NBA MVP when he was 21 years old. He just can't stay healthy, and he doesn't have any desire to play hurt. Now, of course, I wouldn't play hurt either. I mean, that's hard to do, but a lot of NBA players play hurt. And he doesn't have any desire to do that, so he's That's why he misses so many games. He's also a little fragile. He's had a tough luck on injuries. So if I'm the New York Knicks, if I acquire him, I'm doing it for the name recognition, not to acquire other free agents, because I don't think Derrick Rose sells your franchise anymore, and I wouldn't acquire him to think he's going to play 82 games either. You're just doing name recognition to sell jerseys and sell tickets.
And as a follow-up to that, with Hornacek taking over as the head coach over there, how do you think his style gels with the roster they seem to be putting together, and then Phil's philosophy moving forward? Do you think it looks like a good fit to you, or?
I'm curious, just like everybody else is. I think I really like Jeff Hornacek personally and professionally. I think he knows what he's doing. He's a great guy, and he has a good schemes, and he can use a roster and create a scheme that'll win. His big problem is when his players decide they're not buying in anymore to the scheme. Everybody likes him personally, but when Carmelo Anthony one day decides, this scheme isn't the best scheme for my skills, Hornacek has a way of just of not bringing them back into the fold. He just wants to have them play the game. He just wants professional dissidence, or whatever that term is. He just wants to do his job and get the guys to play. And I worry that someone like an Anthony will tune him out after a while, or Derrick Rose. But he is a great coach, and if they do buy in, I think he could make them win under any scheme.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're speaking with Dave King, managing editor, BrightSideOfTheSun.com. You can follow him on Twitter, Dave King NBA. And, Dave, going back to the Suns a little bit there, and I know we talked about, with free agency and whether they'll be active or not, all that. But in this sense, if there's one player out there, whether it's via trade or, just kind of a minor player coming in via free agency, if there's one that you feel has a good chance to maybe be a Sun, or you think they'll go after, who do you think that would be?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I really haven't done enough homework on the free agents this year, other than knowing the one or two really good guys out there are not going to consider the Suns, and then everybody else is going to end up being an overpay. The salary cap is going up 30%, I believe, this summer, and so last year's $10 million contracts will be this year's $15 million a year contract. Someone like Harrison Barnes is going to get $20+ million a year, and his career average is 10 points and 4 rebounds a game. These kind of things are going to make free agency just a shocker to a lot of people, and a jaw dropper to a lot of people next month. I think because of personally, the Suns, well, not personally, but the Suns have to spend some money. You have to spend 90% of the new $94 million salary cap, and the Suns will have about $30 million they have to spend, even if they don't trade away some of their veterans. What I think they're going to do is trade away some of their veterans, swap them out for younger guys. And if you do have to spend your money, I wouldn't be surprised if the Suns do target someone like Harrison Barnes, because he just turned 24, and so he's kind of on the younger age trajectory, and he can play multiple positions. The guy can play power forward sometimes. He can play small forward sometimes. He can play shooting guard sometimes. He can defend. He can do a lot of things. He just doesn't statistically do a lot of things really well. But I would not be surprised to see the Suns spend a lot of money on that. And I definitely don't see the Suns spending money on anyone over 28 years old. I mean, the other name that's been floated around is Nicholas Batum from Charlotte. He's the same kind of player Barnes is, where he's not going to wow you statistically, but he can play a lot of positions and add a lot of length on the floor.
Dave, final one for me with the Suns. We got summer camp will be starting, with the rookies and everything like that, and then they'll be getting training camp going. Anything, any roster spots? I mean, obviously John Jenkins, don't expect him back. PJ Tucker's the interesting one that the Suns are. Is he going to be with the Suns this year? I hear a lot of talk back and forth about him. Does he want to be here?
I think he wants to be with the Suns. I think he's the kind of guy who would be okay with a rebuilding, as long as everybody's in the right frame of mind and working hard. PJ is good to go. The thing is, though, he's on the last year of his contract. He's only partially guaranteed for this year. The Suns could decide that if they're going to go young, that they could be nice and just release him if they can't find a trade partner and let him sign with somebody else who's going to win games. But I think PJ would be perfectly happy coming back. However, if the Suns do spend money at the small forward position in free agency, they'll find a way that he's probably going to be moving on. Did I answer your question? I think, yeah, he would want to come back, but I'm not sure the Suns will bring him.
Well, Dave King, we really appreciate having you on the show. And, of course, Dave's the managing editor, BrightSideOfTheSun.com, and you can follow him on Twitter, Dave King NBA. Any other sites or anything else where your articles are, or any other social media you'd like to share?
That's really it. I mean, you've got the Brightside Sun on Twitter, and you've got Dave King NBA on Twitter. We're on Facebook as well, but basically we have a ton of content on BrightSideOfTheSun.com, and it's always Suns talk, and the community is great. We have a lot of people who engage in conversations beneath every article that we write, and that's what makes our site stand out from all the others, is that we're more of a community than we are just a news organization.
Oh, yeah, it's great stuff, and good things hopefully to come here in the next couple of years for the Phoenix Suns. And, again, very special thanks, Dave, and look forward to having you on again in the future.
All right, I'd be happy to. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dave.
And, of course, Dave King, managing editor, BrightSideOfTheSun.com, and follow him on Twitter, Dave King NBA.